Hi, everyone. Today, I want to talk about stocks I'm trading. First up on today's list, Carnival Cruise stock slumps after ship disposals increase. Next up, I will talk about Peloton and where they go from here. They recently announced their earnings, and they were good, but not amazing. And lastly, for this episode, let's talk about Chipotle. Can the stock still make you a millionaire? As always, there will be some jelly at the end, which is something I enjoyed outside of the markets. If you have big dreams like owning the newly redesigned Rolls-Royce Wraith, or if you just want to be part of a well-educated financial community, definitely like and subscribe. Everything about the Wraith says opulence and luxury, and it starts at $330,000. To keep your dreams at the front of your mind, like and subscribe. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. Looking at the charting for Carnival Cruise, I have quite a few different indicators going on. So I have the Bollinger Bands up here. I have the 50 and the 200 moving averages, implied volatility, and then the MACD here on the bottom. As you can see, for price action, we've had quite a drop off from a little bit over $18 a share down to $16 a share. In terms of support and resistance, I still see some decent support on this 12-hour chart around the $14.50 a share. And we've been pretty supported by the 200 moving average here in green. As you can see, the Bollinger Bands are starting to widen out, which means this volatility is starting to pick up as well. However, the MACD is starting to flatten out. So I think we're going to maintain this support position, which would indicate to me that it's a good time to sell puts. Moving on to the first article. Carnival Cruise stock slumped 2.5% in pre-market on Tuesday because the ship operator said it will accelerate its actions to become leaner. This means they're going to sell off more and more of their 18 ships that are exiting the fleet, representing a 12% reduction in overall capacity. They also said that they expect to receive 2 of the 4 ships that are currently on order for 2020, and only 5 of the 9 ships ordered for 2021 are expected to be delivered by the end of that year. They also said they expect to lose $2.9 billion in third quarter, including a $900 million impairment charge, which makes the total loss $1.7 billion. I'm not super concerned about the company getting a little bit leaner. This is going to reduce their costs in the short term. However, that $1.7 billion loss is a little bit more than I expected, which I think is the main driver for the stock right now. Another thing to mention about Carnival Cruise going down is they also sold $1 billion in shares, which of course, whenever you introduce supply of shares, the stock tends to go down. So this is just one more factor to pay attention to. Moving on to the Peloton charts. This one's quite a bit more boring. It's been basically straight up for the last few months. You can see the Bollinger Bands are starting to pinch inwards, which means volatility is lower than it has been. And the MACD is starting to increase, which indicates a potential upward swing in momentum. I don't really like the fact that volatility is so low. However, I think that Peloton has more room to run, but just be aware that when volatility is low, it's easier to get caught in one of those downward trends, and you may have to sit in a losing position before waiting for it to recover. Next up, let's talk about where Peloton goes from here. As I mentioned earlier, they did blow out their earnings estimate, but it wasn't quite enough to maintain their highs. I think this is easily attributable to the fact that it's up 196% year to date. So perhaps some of those gains were unsustainable. And to me, this doesn't mean that they are starting a downtrend. It's just that they have rocketed up pretty dramatically, and they may need a little bit of a cooling off period. Peloton is well positioned in their current business to fit into the new Rona world, with everyone trying to exercise at home and most gyms still being closed. Their well-rounded fitness system fits well into that new environment. This drove up their revenues 172% last quarter, which also was its first profitable quarter. They currently have 1.09 million members, which is 113% year over year. All of these people pay $39 a month, and 316,000 of these members don't even own a treadmill or a bike. They say the average member conducts 24.7 workouts per month. This is up from 17.7 workouts per month, and their current retention rate for 12 months is 92%. To me as an investor, this means that their revenue is fairly stable, and it should continue to grow going forward. As they release new products, they do offer a $700 credit for people who want to turn in their old bike or treadmills towards the new ones. And they also have a used program, which allows them to turn these products for a profit. Overall, as an investor, I'm excited for Peloton, and I continue to sell puts on the way up. Moving on to Chipotle Mexican Grill, you can see they hit a high of $1,400 per share, and they're currently sitting around $1,200 per share. So they've sold off more than 10%, and you can see the Bollinger Bands are starting to widen out here, which means that the volatility is going up. There is a support line at $1,200 and $1,100. Looking at the volatility down here, you can see it's starting to go up just a little bit, but it's not quite as high as it was before. And looking at the MACD, it's still accelerating to the downside, so it might not be a good time to sell some puts. I think I want to see the MACD come back a little bit before I start selling. However, if you can get a good price, maybe below $1,000 a share, I think we'll see a bounce before we get to that point. So can Chipotle make you a millionaire? Chipotle is up nearly 3,000% since it's debuted and 54% year to date. The company is recovering quite well, as June sales rose 2% and July sales were up 6.4%. And with the exception of the E. coli outbreak, the company has been doing very well. The company has more than tripled since its lows in March, and it's up 216% from a year ago. They did manage to turn a profit despite the Rona, and they continue to add new products to their lineup after a brief pause. They expect the downtrodden real estate market to be a benefit to them, which should allow them to open more and more new locations, which ultimately should drive future growth. Looking at the price to earnings, it is sky high at 126 and is well above the 61 based on 2021 earnings projections. The company does have a rock solid balance sheet with $600 million in cash and no debt, which should allow them to pursue the 6,000 store target, which is currently 2,600 more than they have now. They don't currently pay a dividend, but they may at some point in the future. It's sky-high expectations, leading to that very high price to earnings. They continue to improve through digital orders as well as drive-through, which has driven up their units from 2.2 million up to 3 million, and margins have continued to improve. They are continuing to win the battle against competitors like Noodles & Company and Potbelly, but I'm not sure that outweighs the current valuation. If they go on to beat earnings in October, it could send the stock higher, but I think I would wait for a cheaper entry. Full disclosure, I am short the $14 puts for Carnival Cruise, and for Peloton, I'm also short the $70 puts, and this is a credit spread, so I did purchase the $60 puts. I don't have a position right now in Chipotle, however, I'm watching it looking for a bottoming formation. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of these stocks. Are you bullish or bearish, and why? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Of course, this is not financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. And with that, let's get to the jelly. So today's jelly is wingsuit flying through an urban environment. So here's what that looks like. His face here represents how I feel watching this video. They are basically crazy. Comment down below what you thought of it. Definitely like and subscribe before you go, and have a great day.